Guys, I love today's reading. It's day 34. We're in the Gospel of John, and it's John 14, 15, and 16. 3 chapters, I know, a little bit of reading. So I'm going to skim through this stuff and kind of hit some highlight points. But it begins with chapter 14, where Jesus is talking about how he is the way, the truth, and the life, and that no one comes to the Father except through him. Sometimes that becomes like a big stumbling block. It's like, all right, how can this be possible? But it has to do with this thing called the Trinity, one of these weird words that's a churchy word, and if we don't break it down, it doesn't make any sense. Basically, it's the fact that we believe that there is a Father, there is a Son, and the Holy Spirit. That there are three different persons, but one God. Really kind of wacky, and we try to come up with these crazy metaphors of how it's like an egg, you got a shell, a yolk, and anyway, we come up with these goofy kind of metaphors to explain something that we can't ever really fully explain. I mean, it's one of these mysteries of God. He works in three different ways. He works as a father, the creator, the beginner of things. He works through his Son, whom he sent, Jesus Christ, God made flesh, as John puts it, who moved into our neighborhood and lives as one of us and goes to the cross to be the once and for all sacrifice. That whole sacrifice system that God set up in the Old Testament becomes fully real and perfectly done in the New Testament through Jesus. And then Jesus says, verse 15, if you love me, you'll keep my commandments, and I will ask the Father, and he will send another helper to be with you, the Spirit of truth. Isn't that cool? That we get the Spirit, we call it the Holy Spirit, or the Spirit of God, actually living inside of us. And so these three persons are working together, and it's crazy because it's like if we have a relationship with God, if we're growing in Him, then we get to have His Spirit in us, a spirit of power, a spirit that comforts, a spirit that gives us assurances of faith even when we doubt. And it means we're connected to Jesus, and which means Easter means a whole heck of a lot for us, because it's not just about celebrating Easter baskets, eggs, and bunnies. It's about celebrating that Jesus has power over death. And if he has power over death and we are connected to him, then we get that same resurrection, that same power over death. It's incredible. And I love the visual that Jesus uses. He says in chapter 15, he talks about being the vine, and we're the branches. And so we're like extensions of the kingdom. We're branches moving out into the world. And he says this, that no one has greater love than this, that someone lay down his life for his friends. And as he's talking to his disciples, they don't fully understand it, but he's about to lay down his life not only for them, but for every extension off of that vine. Whether they're natural, connections, descendants, friends of these disciples, or they're grafted in like the Gentiles, like Paul, who wasn't much of a follower of Jesus at first. In fact, he was persecuting Christians, followers of Jesus. And he has a complete flip. So whether you're grafted into the vine or you're growing out of it, we get to be connected to God. And that's awesome. That's what celebrating Easter is all about. Celebrating that by the Holy Spirit, we are connected to the resurrection of Jesus, which connects us to a heaven built for you and me. So, get into these chapters, John 14, 15, and 16. It's a little bit long today. It runs pretty quick because it's all about Jesus. I'll talk to you guys later.